Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 45th anniversary of the Mill Valley Film Festival here at the gorgeous Christopher B. Smith Rafael Film Center. So great to see you all here, and it's so great to be here at full capacity again after 2 very challenging years. So thank you all for being back with us. I'm Katie Davis, senior film programmer for the festival. I've been here a minute and a half, maybe a couple of decades and a half, and boy, nothing like a full house in House 1 at the Rafael. So we are, as you are as well, extremely honored and also very stoked to present tonight's tribute to director James Gray. Along with the very special screening of his new film, Armageddon Time. I'd like to thank with all of our heart, a big and special thank you to tonight's sponsor, Wareham Development, the Nancy P. and Richard K. Robbins Family Film Fund. Please give it up for our sponsor tonight. Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge my onstage collaborators for tonight's program, including Rita Cahill, founding board member of Mill Valley Film Festival and founding consultant on the startup of the Singapore International Film Festival. Rita will speak to James Gray's career and present him with the Mill Valley Film Festival Award before the film presentation. And also, Randy Myers, film writer for Bay Area News Group and Bay City News Foundation, will be hosting the onstage conversation with James Gray after the screening of Armageddon Time. And now to begin the program and kick things off, set the stage for this evening's tribute, we'd like to present a short tribute reel to give you a sense of the depth and the breadth of James Gray's scope of vision and the passionate intensity that characterizes his films. Can we please cue the tribute reel? Thank you.
Good evening, and as mentioned, I'm Rita Cahill, and as you can see, you're in for an incredible treat tonight from a stellar director. And I wanted to give you a little background on James's work. He was born in New York City and raised in the Queens, which you'll see in the film too. And also he attended USC, and his first student film, Cowboys and Angels, went on to garner him an agent and a really prominent producer, and who said, "Oh, you should write and direct your own film." So when at the age of 25, he did his first film in 1994, which was The Little Odessa. It went on to win the Silver Lion at Venice and the Critics Award at the Deauville Film Festival, and was nominated for 2 Independent Spirit Awards, Best First Feature and Best First Screenplay. He went on to write and direct 7 more films, 5 of which were in competition at the Palme d'Or, including tonight's film. He also went on in 2000 to do The Yards, his first collaboration with Joaquin Phoenix. And then in 2007, he did We Own the Night, again with Joaquin Phoenix and with Mark Wahlberg. And then in 2008, he did The Two Lovers, which was also nominated for Independent Spirit Award for Best Director and Best Female Lead, which was Gwyneth Paltrow. And then the next film was The Immigrant in 2013. Here we go. And it won the New York Film Critics Circle for Best Actor for Marianne Cotillard and Best Cinematography with Darius Kunji, who is also the cinematographer of tonight's film. And then he did The Lost City of Z, which was with Charlie Hunnam, Sienna Miller, Robert Pattinson, and Tom Holland, and then Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. So as you can see, he has worked with so many leading actors, and I think that's considered then a actor's director. And some of the other actors that he has worked with that I haven't mentioned are Vanessa Redgrave, Maximilian Schell, Jeremy Renner, Charlize Theron, Faye Dunaway, Ellen Burstyn, James Caan, Evan Mendez, Robert Duvall, and Isabella Rossellini. And in tonight's film is with Anthony Hopkins, Anne Hathaway, Jeremy Strong, and two young dynamos who are Banks Repeta and Jaylin Webb. They're pretty amazing. And as he's quoted, James is quoted, when he started Armageddon Time, he put he taped this to the camera so he'd remember it every day. These 4 words: love, warmth, humor, and loss. And ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to welcome James Gray. I'll have you stand over here. So,
Hello. Hello.
I'll give you this. I'm going to, yeah.
I don't know why it's not on.
Whoops.
You don't need it anyway. I'm allowed now. It's fine.
This one's on. But anyway, I just wanted to, I think we have something here for you. It's my great honor to give you the Mill Valley Film Festival Award.
Wow, thank you.
By the grace, yes.
Thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
lovely. I can't even say it loud.
Well, we'll trade mics now because I think you're going to tell them a little bit about your film, and then we'll get on. Trade you.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I have to tell you, I don't really know what to say because I remember the photographer William Eggleston. I don't know if he's a brilliant photographer. Yes, he's great. And he was not really one to make speeches or anything, and the Los Angeles County Museum of Art finally convinced him to pick up an award. And everyone was so excited, and all these people came around to see and hear him speak. And William Eggleston, he was going to give a speech, and it was big. And Eggleston got up to the podium, and everyone went really quiet, and then he went, "Thank you." And he walked off. And you kind of saw all these like donors of the museum, kind of like, they were all so miserable, you know. And my wife and I thought, that's pretty good, let's get some dinner. So what I will say is this, I won't talk too long because they have to watch the movie, don't they? Right, so here's the thing, the good news is this. The good news is, if you like it, you stay behind and you hear me say things and I pretend to be smart. And also the good news is, if you think it's terrible, you can stay behind and get angry and ask a question that's hostile and really get in it with me. So you get all the advantages. And so the less I talk, the sooner we can start the film after I say thank you for this prize. Thank you. Well, the only thing I would say is this. You said it great. It's as personal a film as I could make. It's me up there, warts and all. And you'll see.
And I want to introduce back to the stage James Gray.
Hello. Oh, this is so bright.
I know this is really bright, isn't it?
Good God.
We're on the spotlight, James.
Vaudeville show. What's happening here?
Well, James, like I was saying to you just a little bit before, I saw this film recently, and it did, personally, it just really affected me so much towards the end. You're such a subtle director, and you do so many very intimate, you're able to draw out so many intimate details out from just not from characters, from writing, but also just everything surrounding the production details as well. This is a personal story, and how much is it personal? How much is what we see is personal
I am a subtle director. I'm a great director. When I get up in the morning, that's what I say when I look in the mirror. I'm so good. And then my wife says, go take out the garbage, you know. Thank you. How much is per? I mean, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Every second of it, really. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could say I made up some of the stuff. Someone was asking me at dinner about Trump in the hallway, and that's almost verbatim what happened. He saw me with my attaché case and picked me out, and what a charming man. It was like an evil clown or something had come up to torture me on my first day of school. Very strange. But no, it's all true. I mean, I knew I was going to get in trouble if I didn't, if it wasn't all based on something. I just thought to myself, I had done 2 movies back to back. One was in the jungle and in the UK, and it was physically brutal. And, you know, I'm genetically designed to be an accountant in Minsk. And I'm not somebody that should be in Amazonia. Mm-hmm. I looked like Moses dressed up as a beekeeper the whole time I was there. And it was, you know, I thought I would go like my heroes went and make movies, and I was going to do it like Francis Coppola and Werner Herzog, and I was going to... After the first 2 weeks, I remember I was there, I was kind of like, this is excellent. You know, I'm in it. Look at how good I am. Mm-hmm. And then like week 3 rolls around, right? And 4:30 a.m. comes, and the insects are so loud that you don't need an alarm clock, and you put on your glasses and they're fogged over, and you have the rainwater shower in the middle of the jungle, and the white minivan comes and you get in it and it's going, the jungle is against the windshield, you go down to the river and the sun's not up yet, and that gets old. Mm-hmm. And you are in the middle of nowhere. And I remember saying to myself in the middle of that shoot, like, what are you doing? You're a New Yorker. What is this? You're not supposed to be here. But then, schmuck that I am, I followed that up going to space, which had its own set of problems. And I had just about had it at that point and wanted to rediscover, frankly, what it is that I loved about cinema. And I just went off. I remember I was alone. Is this the most boring thing ever? Basically, what happened was I was doing Marriage of Figaro in Paris, the first opera I ever did, which I loved doing. But I was in a kind of gilded cage in this apartment in the middle of a very residential neighborhood in Paris. And my family wasn't there yet, so I was going home at night. And, you know, I started to think about this. It was actually about a year period in my life, which has been about 3 months in the movie. And a very formative period. Mm-hmm. And I thought also for the country. That's a whole other story, but we can get into that if you want.
Yeah, I do would like to get
well, I mean,
yes,
look,
yes.
My heroes growing up, Muhammad Ali and the Beatles, which is in the movie. And for virtually the same reason, you know, Muhammad Ali, first of all, as a kid, I thought he was hilarious. Mm-hmm. And I loved, which he was, and I loved how bold he was. Mm-hmm. And I had this, you know, because Muhammad Ali hung out with the Beatles in Miami in February of 1964, and there's a wonderful photographer named Harry Benson took all these pictures. At the time, was he Ali yet? He might have been Clay, still known as Clay. And he was so funny, and he was so great and so fast. And then he lost in humiliating fashion in 1980 to Larry Holmes. And I remember coming down the stairs and saying to my dad, did Ali win? Because he always won in my experience. Yeah. No, he lost. And I remember my father saying it like that, and I cried and I cried. And a month later, John Lennon was killed. And the Beatles also represented something brash and fascinating, and both of them were figures of great integrity. You know, I'm sure you guys know all this, but Ali, he didn't box for a 3-year period between 1967 and 1970 because of his position against the Vietnamese War. And the Beatles, their last live show was Candlestick Park, and there was no guarantee they would still be the Beatles. And one of the things about American capitalism, which I find very troubling, is we don't have an answer for this. We haven't figured out how to monetize integrity. And so everything becomes transactional now, right? It's a very transactional culture. And Muhammad Ali and the Beatles weren't about that. And the 60s really did die at that moment. And with Reagan's election, something happened. And Reagan was the clear. He's the person who dies with the most toys wins, right? That sort of became the ethos. You forget that Jimmy Carter, for all of his flaws, was an evangelical guy who's building houses for poor people. I mean, Reagan's like, go get the money, asshole. Like, that's the kind of message he was sending.
But it was also, like you said, even in this movie, it was handed down. That was something that we were told at that generation. We have the scene with the father, with Jeremy Strong. That's so effective, and to hear.
You mean at the end?
Yeah, at the end, and saying the leg up that we need to have, that everyone needs that.
Yeah, well, I found that a horrible thing to say to me. I have people today, they say to me, oh, that's great what the father says, some great advice. I'm like, what? Because I think what he says is awful. Mm-hmm. What he says is it's like, give up. Mm-hmm. You have your advantage, take it, kid. Now, my father was, I'm not hating on him or his memory, because he did the best that he could in some ways, and really that's an expression of fear. And what he does to me in the bathroom, the boy in the bathroom, that's an expression of parental ineptitude, not knowing what to do. Like, I deserved some punishment. I was a jerk. I was a jerk many times. I was probably worse than what is depicted in the movie, like dumplings, suckers, all that kind of that obnoxious little shit. That was me, for sure. And so I definitely deserved something. But they didn't know what to do. And I view that scene as almost like something out of a horror movie. But not everybody has that reaction. I cannot tell you how many people over the last month and a half have said to me, oh, it's great that the father tells him that's great. He's doing it. I'm like, what? You start to feel like a failure, you make this movie where that's the message? What? But I'm a weirdo because somebody, Anthony Hopkins, he's like a saint in the movie, and I have my own view of it, which is that he commits a terrible crime in a way, which is at that dining room table where he says, I told them to do that, and I sent them, I'm paying for the school, because that's giving up on the system. That's giving up on the public school system. He basically he gives up. He does his little contribution to an unequal society. So it's sort of a movie where I guess everybody's at fault, which I think is the case.
That is, and then also we were just talking about this. It just sets the tone for what is coming in the future. With like I said, when you see Trump, and then you see all these things they're saying, getting the leg up, getting all these things, where we do sort of disassociate from being human in a way.
The culture, I'm sort of old enough now to get tributes here, which means I'm very old. But I'm also old enough to actually say things like this and feel that I can say it credibly, which is, I think the culture has gotten considerably crueler. Mm-hmm. And I have been amazed at that. I'm not exactly sure of the reasons, but I do know that the idea of, I guess it's this. I am not a communist. I went to the Soviet Union on a student exchange program when I was in high school. It was horrible. So I'm not trying to say that that was a viable alternative, but it was an alternative in the discourse. So I think, I don't want to get too wonky on you, but companies, labor and management, had a need to be uneasily kind of like living with each other because there was that thing called communism out there. And that's part of the reason that middle class in this country had a kind of existence of some growth after the war, 1945 to 1980. And what's one of the first things that Reagan does? He fires the air traffic controllers when they go on strike. And to me, that sent the message that the union is shit, and I will crush your ass. And that is a message that I think was heard by corporations in the country. And so now you have CEOs who used to earn 7 times what the factory worker earns that are now earning 70, 700 times. You know, the United Healthcare chairman retired with a golden parachute of $260 million. So when people are working at Walmart in a non-union job, this is a society that's gotten crueler. I don't have solutions. It's my job to point that out. And a lot of it, I think, started then. So all of it is, you know, I was in a museum, and on the wall, there was this thing that said, history and myth always begin in the microcosm of the personal. So what I was trying to do was to say with this little shithead at the corner, at the end, this in Queens, who was an obnoxious little 12-year-old, there's this small story, but what does it mean? What does it represent for a larger, on the larger, I mean, I don't know if it functions that way, but that's what the intention was. And I was very much interested. I know you're like, oh my God, I asked one question. But I was also very interested in I was watching a lot of Fellini movie called Armageddon. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's fantastic. It's Fellini's semi-autobiographical, his childhood, his adolescence actually in Rimini in Italy. And he's older. It's more about his sexual awakening in places. But over the whole thing is this, they go to the school, the Duce, about Mussolini. You know, you have to pay homage to the cult of personality of Mussolini. And I think Trump is kind of like a Mussolini figure. I mean, he feels like that to me. Yeah, he sort of does, right? He's sort of the same level of preposterousness and the kind of like you look at, it's weird, right? Because you would look at Mussolini footage and you're like, how could anyone, I mean, Hitler's the same way, but how can anyone take that person seriously, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And Trump, you kind of think to yourself, here's what I'm going to do. Like this whole, like, it's like 20 years from now, 5 years from now, is anyone going to look at that person seriously? I hope not. But he ain't gone.
No.
Somebody said to me in the middle of production, he said, do you think we should keep the Trump stuff in there?
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? He said, well, isn't it going to be dated? I said, you think that motherfucker's going anywhere?
No, exactly. Totally. Well, and when you create the story between two boys and their closeness and how that gets fractured due to the time and due to a lot of circumstances that are there, and to feel that, I mean, that must have been for revisiting that for you must have been a painful experience.
It was a terribly painful. You know, I loved him. We were both kind of nerds together, and
that comes through.
The nerddom is clear. But I was trying to say with it that it's very complicated because you can be. We were talking about this at dinner. You can be the oppressor at the same time you are oppressed. It's not a cut and dried thing. And I remember my family, that block that you see in the house, the semi-attached row houses, that was about 90 feet from where my house was. The only reason we didn't shoot there is the woman wouldn't let us in. It was very smart of her. You know, film crews like completely destroy a location. But the woman down the block was dumb enough to allow the film crew in. And the houses were all the same. So mine looked exactly like the one in the film. And that's my public school where Johnny and Paul are walking in front of PS 173 in Fresh Meadows, Queens. There's no Fresh Meadow anywhere near it, but it's called Fresh Meadows. And I don't understand that name. I mean, you know, in like 1783, there was probably a fresh meadow there. Anyway, on that block, today it's almost exclusively Asian and Orthodox Jewish, that neighborhood. But when I grew up there, it was all Archie Bunkers. And we were the lone Jewish family on the block. And they wanted us out, you know, and you could tell. So I felt, you know, my grandparents, there was a sort of well-intentioned, but there was that bigotry, that racism. My parents were sort of racist in that same way. And well-intentioned, but it was there. But at the same time, you'd go outside and somebody wanted to, you know, kick your head in. It's a very strange dynamic. And I felt ripe for a movie because usually in movies, the Klansman comes out and you know the bad guy immediately. To me, the bad guy is a little bit murkier than that. You know, the teacher in the movie is pretty clearly, you know. It's a real guy, by the way. He's dead now, so I can use his actual name. It's Turkletown.
Well, and that's a good...
I had to do all this with lawyers on the movie, like who's dead and who's not. It was like, Turkletown, he's dead. Okay, Turkletown.
Well, it's really interesting because you see so many films that are about nostalgic, right? You go back, you look at it, and there's always this sort of rose-colored...
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, I do too.
I hate that.
So, yeah.
Well, there are certain things that were better, as we've just discussed. I suppose the discourse might have been a little more elevated. There was more of a middle class, a little bit more economic equity, but it was much worse in so many other ways. And to look back, you know, with rose-colored glasses, it's like basically living a lie. And I think life is a constant struggle. I think it does us no good to sort of look back and say, that was perfect, and now look, this is bad. I think the seeds are always planted for something now, 20, 30, 50 years ago. I mean, more than that. We're still fighting the Civil War.
Yeah.
So history is like it's like an onion, you know, you peel the layers, but you can never get to the core of it. It's just an unending series of complexities that vex us, and we can never fully get to the root.
Well, as far as like, you have a cast that's incredible in here, and you work with two young actors who are just...
I loved those kids so much.
They're amazing.
They were so great. I'm still text with them every 5 seconds, both of them. I just saw them. It was great. It was so great. But I never met them until 2 weeks before the shoot, which is one of the disasters of COVID. You know, if I had made this film before COVID, I would have had like big dinners because my only real talent is cooking. I made this big dinner where all the actors, I do on movies, a big dinner, all the actors come, we talk, we share ideas. I couldn't do that on this. You know, it was like the insurance guy would come and like shut down the production, you know. Do you know what you're doing? You're exposing yourself and everybody else. I'm not just a danger to you. Like, this is what I got to do. So you come to work and you're like in a deep sea diving outfit, and you know, it's like it was horrible to work on this movie because like you're going up, you say stuff. It's a very intimate moment, you know.
Try to get one.
And then you'd see the AD, you'd rehearse with everyone, you know, wearing basically like, you know, astronaut outfits. And then the AD would come over and go, okay, masks off, let's go now. Which is a terrible way to work for me. I love improvisation, I love working with actors and stuff. But the kids were so great. I met them 2 weeks before production. They got along immediately. I sent them to the top of the Empire State Building, Statue of Liberty, all the classic cliched things. They did that. But then they all took school together, by the way, those kids.
Wow.
So by the time the shooting started, even 2 weeks was enough to have them. I mean, they're still friends. So that was very easy for me. And I liked them both so much. They were so smart, you know, talking to them, so aware. So I that was like, and plus, you know what's great about kids is like, it's like you hear stories where someone would direct in a 1940s movie, Like Hitchcock would direct Cary Grant, and he would say, move from here to here, or something. And then Cary Grant would step from there to there, and he'd, now say your line. I don't know what I'm doing here. He'd stand there, say that line. That's the storyboard shot, check that off. And you can't work that way now with actors. Like if I had Jeremy Strong on the set and I went like this to him, so you walk there, then say your line, he would give me a knuckle sandwich. So you can't do that with actors. The craft has matured, but you can do that with kids. So all of a sudden, you're
Let's
like
go.
fucking Billy Wilder, You're like, move from there to there, and then say the line and say it like this, No, I'm not kidding, but I am. They brought stuff to it anyway because they're great.
So did you always imagine that you were going to have Anthony Hopkins in that role? Was that something?
Yes, I knew that. I called up Tony.
He said immediately?
I called up Tony and I said, Tony, let's do this project. No, of course not. I wrote the thing and I said, wouldn't it be great if I got Anthony Hopkins? I sent him the script and that was it. And he said, I heard nothing for a week. And then I got a text from his agent saying, things seem to be moving in a positive direction with T. Hopkins. Call me. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
It's not bad news.
You're there. You're getting close.
Oh, no, so I just read your screenplay. It's a marvelous screenplay. Oh, Jim. He's calling me Jim. I'd never met the guy before. I never talked to him. Jim, a marvelous screenplay. Then, of course, there's that weird thing where he's insecure. Oh, do you think I might be able to pull this off, Jim? I think you can pull it off.
Yeah.
I think you'll be able to do it. Well, I don't know. I've just never played, his grandfather before like this. It was just certainly a different character. It was a very interesting picture in New York. I don't know if I could do it. No, you can do it, Tony. You can do it. They think I'm making this up.
Well,
We love actors. They're so fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. They're so insecure and beautiful, and that's why we love them. It's like Hathaway is like I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, yeah, you do. Take it easy. You're fine.
Yeah. Well, and you also have worked with a lot of actors throughout your career who have worked with you consistently, or in a lot
of repeat business.
A lot of repeat business.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin. How many films?
James, not again, James. Yeah, we're gonna go do another movie. No, dude, come on, dude. It's not. It's met with just unbelievable misery. So when I call him up, you want to do another movie? Oh, no. Again, they're laughing. They don't know it's accurate. No, what happens is that you get a language with some of these people, and in the case of Joaquin. Other people that I've worked with multiple times, you like the same things. You're interested in the same things. You want to explore the same things. But I started working with Joaquin, he was like 4, the jokes aside, I think he was 20, and I was 28. So...
and that was The Yards, right?
That was The Yards.
Yards.
That was still to this day my least successful film on every level. And which I like to remind him of. By the way, I don't know, the woman who introduced me, I was 23 when I made my first movie, which is
Odessa.
really, Little Odessa, which is really insane because it tells you how dumb Hollywood is, that they would give me any money at 23. I mean, I knew nothing. If I knew how little I knew, I would never have hired me.
But you got an award?
An award. Oh, well. That's a story in itself. I remember I went to Venice. I was 24 years old by then. And I went to the Venice Film Festival. And the studio hated the movie. And they didn't want to release it. And a man named Gillo Pontecorvo, who made Battle of Algiers, which is a legendary movie, saw the movie, I don't know how, and loved it. And Gillo said to me, he said, I think you have to come to Venice. You come to Venice, and he treats you very nice, very, very, very nice. I said, yeah, I think Venice sounds like a good idea. So next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Venice. I show up there, I said, how shall I dress? Oh, it's a Venice. It's a very casual. Jeans, t-shirt, it's okay. I'm like, jeans and a T-shirt? See, jeans and a T-shirt. So I dress, sport coat and jeans. And everybody else is in black tie. And it's the official screening of a movie called Il Postino. They sit me right down next to...
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, but here's what happened. It's very sad. Don't be clapping. They sit me right down next to the director. I've just landed from Los Angeles. I'm completely jet-lagged. 2 seconds into the movie, I fall asleep. My producer, lights come up, everyone's applauding. I'm in jeans and a T-shirt. My producer says, you're snoring really loudly. I said, why didn't you wake me up? He said, I thought it was very funny. And I'll never forget, Michael Radford directed that movie. Then my official screening comes, and I never forget, he said, I saw your movie tonight. I said, did you? He goes, great print, very clean.
There is that, though, right?
Anyway, so my official screening comes up, and I'm like, that's it, black tie. Black tie, I got it. Everybody else, jeans and a T-shirt. They think I'm the waiter. I'm getting drink orders. They sit me down next to Maximilian Schell, the actor in the movie, and to my right is Giorgio Armani. And all of a sudden, Maximilian Schell has not seen the film yet. The lights come down. Oh, this is a very bad film. Very bad film. And he starts going like this. And by the way, to this day, I don't understand what follows. I look bald and fat, and I will never again play Handel. What's that? I will not play Handel. I cannot play Handel. I'm bald and fat, no more Handel. I'm like, Handel? Handel? Yeah, right. Anyway, he's talking about this, and during the movie, all of a sudden, George Armani goes, hey, Maximilian, trying to watch movie, shut up. Trying to watch movie. And the two of them get into a fight during my official screening. The movie ends, I'm dressed all wrong, Max Schell and George Armani get into a huge fight. I'm 9 years old. The movie ends and it's like, there's like crickets. I'm so depressed. My career has not even started yet. It's over. The studio hates it. They don't want to release it. Gillo Pontecorvo is the one guy who likes me in the world. Maximilian, of course, thought the movie was garbage. I fly back to Los Angeles. I'm getting off the plane, and there's a sign that says, call this number, James Grace. I call the number, and they said, the movie has won. You have to fly back to Venice.
I love that.
What? I go out there, I go back, Monica Vitti is kissing me, David Lynch is the head of the jury, he's like, that was incredible, kid. I have dinner with Al Pacino, he's like, what a fantastic film. That was terrific. I'm like, what the fuck? So it has a happy ending.
That's a great ending.
It has a happy ending.
That was you couldn't ask for anything better.
So, miserable Jew goes to stud in a matter of minutes. You know what I'm saying? How did we get on this?
That was a great. I don't know.
I'm really sorry.
But that no.
It's very obvious that COVID has affected me because I have not gotten out very much.
Well, James, I'm sorry. We have to wrap it. I'm getting a hard wrap.
Are you kidding me?
I know, but I could
talk about the movie.
Well, we did at the beginning, but I could talk to you for. Yeah, let's hear a little bit.
All right. What do you want to talk about? We talk about they're bored off their head. They're all running for the eggs.
No, they're not running.
Their bladders are filled. Their bladders. I gotta relieve the bladder.
Well, no, that was a great story, though. Okay.
They're all leaving en masse. What? You have questions? Do you ask questions?
It seems, from at least by reputation, the actors that you did cast have a very, very different way of approaching the set and their characters. Could you comment on your casting and just how you handle that?
The actors, the disparate methods. How do you square the circle with all these crazy people working together? That's exactly the way you asked that, right? They don't. The British actor and the American actor have a different way of working in that the American actor, which is, I say American actor, but they use it has pejorative method, which is working from the inside out, using either sense memory, which is Lee Strasberg's school. I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but everyone's walking out now. But in the weeds, which is you basically find something inside of you and you project outward, and you basically use like the aspects of costume or other attributes. That's the service that comes from how you feel inside. The British actor Vanessa Redgrave, or in this case Tony, they work from the outside in. Would your grandfather had that hat? Yes, I want that hat. You know, get the hat, then. What does he wear? Or he wore that tie. Oh, no, what does he wear that jacket? Oh, yeah, the jacket. Got the jacket. And then he starts to perceive the person as he gets it from the outer skin in. But that's inside baseball. And when you're actually on the set, their method doesn't clash with each other because that's their work they do in private with you, either before the shoot starts or by themselves. And once you're on the set, with actors like that, they always respond to fairly simple direction and can apply it usually over a whole take. So for Tony, for example, I would walk up to him in the scene in the bedroom where he tells the story about the Cossacks killing his mother's parents. You know, I said, I think I gave him just, you know, I think we did 6 takes of him on the rocking chair. The one that's in the movie is take 5. I think I just gave him very simple adjustments along the way, like, you know, at one point I just said to him, I remember in the scene in the park, I said, this is like your own version of a benediction, but be harsh with him. Oh, yes, I'll be harsh, yes. You know, and then he does it. With Annie, it's the same way, you know, you just say to her, this is the end. I remember I said to her, I said, the principal's office, I said, your son has destroyed your dream. Oh, okay. That's all they need. They're so good. Jeremy Strong is an incredible actor. You know, he doesn't need much. The kids are different. But the kids are easier because you just tell them exactly where to go, and you follow the lead of the adults. So we had a wonderful working relationship, all the actors, and I loved them. I really didn't have a tough time with anybody. It was very easy.
Yeah, it's a great cast. I think we have time for one more. One more, then we have to get out. James, which one do you?
Turn into a pumpkin. You pick.
I know. Let me. Let's go over there. I'll go over there. Your hands up. Yep. There you go.
Thank you.
Well, I so appreciate this film on a number of levels, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Truthfulness and having the characters get inside themselves so we can see. And what happens do you ever stay in touch with your friend? You go after him and remember what...
I don't have a good answer to that question. It's a bad one. You want to know it? Yeah. So what happened was, first of all, I never saw him again. My father predicted correctly. But I don't blame myself because it's not like today where you have a cell phone and you call anybody. It was like impossible. Like no Facebook. I mean, we had one phone in the house in the kitchen, and that was it. You know what I mean? It's like it was not the same kind of thing. And I went to a new school, and he actually lived in a neighborhood. It's Hollis in the movie. I changed it from Jamaica because I didn't want people to get confused thinking that he lived in another country. But there was a neighborhood in Queens called Jamaica where he lived, and it was not close, really. It's not walking distance. And I never saw him again. And then in around 2000, my cousin Paul, who I sort of named the character after, still lived in the neighborhood, and we were talking, and he had read that the character was based on had died in a drug deal in Jamaica, probably around 1986. So it's terrible. I know, I barely can say it without breaking up, actually. But it's the truth, you know. And I know I'm sorry to end on such a downer note.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.